Hi everyone. Welcome to my little YouTube video that I'm going to do of this zinnias that we have. And you can see there's a big one on the background, and there's this sample right here. We have another one right here. And before I get too into this, I'm going to take one of these samples that didn't that needs to go a step further. And kind of show you how you can fix it up later on if you get this kind of angle right here of the dark, and the light needs to come over into here more like it does up there. We're even going to go a little bit further. The same thing here, there's a real huge difference in values of light and dark, and we want to kind of put more lightness and let these little zinnias bloom. So, hey, my name is Pauline, and I own Vino and Van Gogh in Springfield, Oregon. We're a painting party business, and I do teach videos of some of our original paintings. Anyway, this is zinnias, and it's gone through some metamorphosis recently. On these new ones right here, I used a more of a red violet instead of the purple, but you're going to see our colors right here, and I can just kind of show you. This is what we give our instructors when they come, and if you're an educator or a teacher, you know, we send you this too. So we got a couple different kinds of purple, more of a red violet and a violet. We got yellow ochre, cerulean blue, dark brown, orange, white, and a kind of phthalo green. All of these other millions of colors that are in there, I'm going to show you how to mix them with just what you have here. And I'm going to have a lot of paint left because I kind of paint in a real watercolory, impressionistic kind of, you know, style. So let's move on. I hope the volume is good, and I hope that it's clear. And I finally found an arrangement for my camera, and I'm so excited to start this. So while I was kind of setting up, I went ahead and mixed a color right in here, and I'm going to fix this, and you're going to see how these things pop out. And this is the same color that I'm going to have you put. Just going to kind of go up to these brushes, up to these zinnias a little bit, but let some of that dark show through, and let's see if I like that. We put it on really kind of thin, let some of the dark show through. And I got that color with just kind of mixing. Always have your brushes in warm water. Always have them, avoid ever taking a dry brush and just putting it into the paint. It's a good way to ruin it. And so I'm going to take a little bit of that blue. I'm going to take a little bit of this gold and just kind of add it down here. Now I've got a green. It needs some, well, I'm going to take from this white. It needs a little bit of white, definitely some more yellow. So this is kind of how I just sort of mix it till I get what I need, that yellow going in with that blue. It's going to give me what I need. So just kind of, there's more of a different kind of shade. You'll get a different one every time. Just kind of pat it around. Avoid fussing with it too much, and the temptation to just keep painting over those beautiful brush strokes that you're seeing. Let it alone. Don't piddle with it. I'm going to add some of that color in here to kind of make it relate a little bit more, and you can kind of see it coming down in here. So I like that much better. It kind of lets it breathe. Definitely needs some more yellow up in the corner, but yeah, I might just go ahead and do that now while I got you here. All right. And kind of test it right there. It's a little bit greenish. So anyway, just kind of, when this dries, I will I'll come back and just kind of add a little bit more yellow and get it done. But we're going to let that dry right now, and I'm going to start on the lesson for today. Yeah, this yellow needs to just kind of come around the back. And then some limes and things, but it's getting there, and it's a joy. The wonderful thing about acrylic painting is that you can come back to it the next day and just paint on top of it. You can come back in 5 minutes and paint on top of it. It dries quickly. The medium that it loves is water. So I'm going to have you mix up, and I always keep my sponge here because I won't need these colors. I'm going to mix up a little bit lighter background. And you probably can't see those lifeless colors. I hate wiping them away, though. I might have to come back and use them. So I'm going to try and get as much off of my brush as I can. or just take another brush. We used a 1/2 inch flat, a 5/8 inch flat, and at least a number 8 round. Here's the 5/8 inch flat, and then you saw me with the 1 inch right here, and the 5/8 again, and then any size round, 8 or above. 8's good. 6 is a little small, kind of for, you know, detail and outlining, and you can do that with a number 8. Every brand has a different size, so it's kind of hard to say, you know, one store is going to have, one brand is going to have one size. Anyway, let's mix up this kind of, it's sort of a sagey, got a little bit of orange in it. So I'm going to mix up a little bit of sage. I'm going to have you take that gold, and I'm just going to put it right there. Now you can just go ahead and do the whole thing with this, but I'm going to just make it a little bit more interesting and add a couple more colors in there and kind of green it up a little bit. I think if I just take a little bit of that blue, it's going to green it up a little bit. If it greens it up too much, just add more of this. Yeah, I added too much of that. So here comes the white, until you sort of get a creamy, a little bit more yellow looking. And let's see how we go. All right, so that's good enough. It's got that kind of greenish, and I'm just gonna flop these. Don't, you know, go around your pencil lines there. Don't be afraid to go out of the lines and go into those leaves and stems, because we're gonna make this, we're gonna cover this up with so many different layers, and the more color you have when you go over it with the layers, the more interesting your painting is going to be. And you can see as I'm rubbing my brush, some of the green is coming off in some spots heavier, some of the gold is coming off in some spots heavier, and it is all looking good. I am going to have you stay away from the flowers though. So cover up the leaves, cover up the stems, leave the flowers alone. When you dip your brush in water, just shake it off, and that'll kind of thin it out, make it a little bit lighter. And here comes another color. That's just with adding more water to my brush. Okay. And you're going to go all the way down to the bottom, even though the bottom is going to be really dark green, almost a blackish green. When it hits the top, when those darker colors go over anything that's underneath of them, it just changes them a little bit, makes it really interesting. Some of the original color pokes through. I kind of like to put a little bit of color here and there on the edge of my flowers, and then when the orange comes over that, it's just going to give it its dark little halo. So here's where I've got now, and I'll just kind of blend that other yellowish in. I'm liking this. It's a fun painting. And I just kind of take your wrist and use the flat side of your brush. And this is where you're going to have that feeling of, I'm painting, I'm painting. And the wonderful thing about these videos is that you can turn it off, you can pause it, you can rewind, you can catch up later. I'll show you how to preserve your little paints. And I ran out of paint, so I'm just going to go ahead and clean up what was on my palette. All this is going to be dark. All this is going to be leaves down in here. But you want to put a base coat on there. You want to dunk my brush, shake it off. And I'm just going to kind of get rid of some of that color that was on there. So there comes some of that. Isn't that a wonderful turquoise that just kind of got mixed with mixing the blue with the green? It just kind of comes off a little bit more turquoise, and you're going to see some of that color in here, where you see this right here and on the leaves, and it just really makes it spark. So if you have an easel, just set your painting up on top of the easel like that. You don't have a little 1/2 inch white space along the bottom. I'm going to pull a little bit of blue and dark green in here and finish this off, because this is going to be, oh, kind of overdid it a little bit, but it's going to get darker than that. Once the brown goes on top of it, I'm just going to clean this off of my brush. Once the dark brown goes off on top of it, it's going to be good. Got a little bit too much, but put some over here too. I just kind of want to represent your colors all over the canvas and not just have them on one edge or over here or in the center. So I'm just going to kind of keep going until my brush runs out of paint. If I get it too dark, every one of these is going to be different. You know, if you're painting it alone or you're using it for your student to teach it, and that's the great thing about it. Everybody has a different style. They go at their own pace. Okay. As you can see, I'm down here. I'm going to pat this. I'm going to talk to you about this dark green a little bit. It's a color I rarely use, but you guys are grown-ups. You can know how to handle it. It is really intense. It has a ton of pigment in it. It's impossible to cover up. So go lightly on that green. You just need a little tiny bit, and when I take a tiny bit, I'm talking just like the edge of my brush, you know, and that's about what I have. That's enough to stain and get the colors that you want. So anyway, time to talk about washing your brush. Pull it off in your paper towel. And I am going to swish it up really good, counterclockwise, clockwise with the cream. Beat those eggs, shake it off, and we are ready. I wonder if I can kind of put this over here so I don't have to keep reaching back. I am going to kind of move into the red violet right now. If you have a sponge and you have a palette, it's a good idea to just take that sponge, and I'm not going to go into the blues and greens for a while, and keep that, because we're going to be going, or you're going to be going into a little bit different color now. We don't particularly want that color on our flowers. So here's another brush I need to clean. I just couldn't bear to get rid of that wonderful color. It's one of my favorite colors. Kind of a sage green, Loden green with turquoise and tan. Yum. Touch of black. I'm going to stay with my smaller, or with my big brush, and you kind of want to have some, you want to keep that big bold stroke thing going right now, and not try to get into the detail too much, because there's going to be plenty of time for that. So I'm going to just outline this and go ahead and go across the center. In fact, let's put the centers on all of these. They're going to end up being extremely dark, whether they're a dark brownish purple, blackish green, whatever you decide. So we'll just go ahead and kind of see where we're going here, and I'm just going to go ahead and now it's up to you. See, I'm just kind of twirling my brush back and forth. Get those petals down in the stem. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to mix a little purple in there. So by doing this, you're almost creating some petals right there. Just going around and around, and don't lose contact with your, and don't fiddle with it. Let it dry. We'll go back and put the center in nice and dark, and we'll do the same thing. We'll do the same thing down here. So I just have a little bit of water and take some more of that, and I'm just going to go around the outside first. So see how I go into the green and you get this awesome, oh man, it looks like water in the Caribbean, and that turquoise. Well, I should not have picked up that blue, but I did. Darn it. I was talking about the blue. Why did I go in there? I'm going to go ahead and grab some more. I didn't even wash my brush. I'm just going to mix it all together. I'll come back and, well, maybe I better wash my brush because it's not, it might hurt a little bit later trying to go over that green that got mixed in. So another wonderful thing about having an old sponge around is that you can just kind of wipe this off and go back and start over. Okay, I'm gonna wash it. You just grab some red violet. And there we go. This is kind of a transparent color, so I like how it goes. It gets goes into that green, and it just turns turquoise on its own. It's nice. When we come back, or when this dries just a little bit, and they are drying quite rapidly, I'm just going to put, maybe I'll take some of the darker purple and add that. And I didn't, you don't have to wash your brush. This is just while this is drying. I want to keep moving around, and so people don't log off and lose interest. We're going to try and keep this moving, and yeah, we'll put that on later. We'll put this one on right here. And that's going to get darker too. So I'm going to dip it in the red violet because you do need a little bit of touch of color here and there. You know, I just kind of poked it there, and I'm going to continue with, I think I'm going to pick up a little bit more of the purple, mix it together with the red violet for my second coat. We're going to go a little bit thicker this time because you want to avoid putting too thin watery coats on top of each other. So, and I'm just going to kind of put another layer of petals with a different color. See how I just go out and then back, out and back. Don't try to perfect it. Don't fuss with it. It's up to you how many more that you want. I'm going to put a dark center in this, and that's really going to show up. And the same thing down here. I'm going to stay with the big brush one more time for these guys. I'm going to mix up a little bit of the darker purple in with the red violet. Blue violet, red violet. Okay, so I'm going to put another layer right here. And I just push out, press, pull in, push out, press, pull in. And just be happy with what you got. You can always go back with a smaller brush, or when it dries, and you're going to be adding a lot more. Now this little thing went a lot more little layers and colors there. So okay, I'm ready to put on the orange flowers, and then we'll yeah, let's do the orange flowers, and then because I was looking at the leaves, and then we don't have to keep washing our brush going back and forth. So pulling it off keeps your paint water so much cleaner. Your pipes will be happy. Your plumber will be sad because you won't get him a lot of work. I'm going to have a clean brush and just take a little bit of orange out there. And depending on how, you know, if you have your paint out and it's getting a little bit dry, just always make sure that you get it worked up into those bristles on both sides. And here we go, around. I'm going to come in on this side. And we're just laying the background. We're just laying the, you know, still working on the background. We're not getting into any kind of detail yet. That's when it just comes alive and when it becomes fun, and we start adding the pollen. It's not snowing. It doesn't snow here in Oregon very much. Not in the valley anyway, but the baby's breath, it could be forget-me-nots, anything that's going to kind of break up the monotony of, just go ahead and go around this, of flat open areas. And I'm just kind of pulling that paint down into some of those petals and swirling it back up. A little bit more paint. And this is going to really come alive. It's kind of watercolory right now, but once it just goes on straight like this, you're gonna see. And we'll just put some white with it and put some of those lighter petals toward the center. Just kind of chop it out like that. And just grab some pure paint and do the same thing up here. I always like to go a little bit lighter first, and then I have the light and I have the darker, and I have where it's going across the greens. And this flower looks a little bit smaller than it could be. I think I'm going to just kind of get it bigger, and I'm going to make it. We're just going to go over that red violet, and that does look nice. It really does. It kind of pulls it in. And so where do we want a little bit of this orange? We are going to cover up this whole bottom with a dark green, and nothing says dark green. What I'm going to have you do is just clean off your brush down here, and just go lightly. If you have a lot of paint on your brush, you want to just go lightly. Otherwise, you'll have big spots of orange. I'm just going to kind of. I like that though. When the green hits on top of this, I'm going to put a little bit more. This is one of those things where I like to have you represent your colors all over the place. We're going to cover this up with green, but you know what? That orange is going to make a big difference because it's going to change how that green looks on top of it. Put some of that down in here where there's any white. Just put a little bit of orange there. Just makes it look like your garden is huge. You've got a big old zinnia garden. Okay. So now I have gotten almost all of the paint. In fact, it is all gone, but I'll show you. There's hardly any left here to take off. Just a little stain. And it does so much for your painting when you represent your colors and clean your brush off on the canvas. I'm going to forget those right now, and I want to put on, talk to you about some of the leaves. And what we're going to do, I'm going to stay with my big brush, but I will also demonstrate the next size, because I know people, they prefer a smaller, brush. So, okay, I'll make you happy. I'll go with my big brush. So we are going to put, this is pretty dry, and I'm going to put the brownish greens in here, and then we'll lay the leaves on top. So I'm going to just dip my brush in water, shake it off, and we're going to make that kind of dark Loden green. So how we do that, I'm going to take some of this brown, and I'm just going to put it in the orange. Why not? Grab a little bit of that blue. We're going to need that color too. It's pretty cool. That color is going to be great for, look at the stems. Look at that. And turn your brush. And I hope to save some of it. If you mix up color, just all these are related. So I'm going to come back to that. I'm just going to kind of keep trying to make more of a green. Little tiny bit. Remember that green I told you to stay away from? Well, that's kind of the color I'm looking for. Maybe half a dunk of water. You don't need to plunge your brush all the way in because you're just picking up an inch of water. And I'm going to put this on the background. I think it's dark enough right now that I'm going to lose my pencil lines. So I'm just going to kind of stay away from the leaves. Look, I even created another leaf. You can see little leaves, little decorations popping out. Where was I? Right here. You kind of start to see this come alive. And I know that zinnias, their little leaves grow so close to the flower. They don't make a good cut flower, that's for sure. And we'll just go in here. Just keep moving your brush. If you stay in the same spot, what you're going to do is you're just going to dislodge all of those colors. I'm just going to go ahead and cover this up because I'm not sure where those pencil lines are. And I'll just get what I get. I'm going to save those. I'll save that leaf. and just make the rest of everything brown. This is coming along really nicely. I like this. Make sure my video is still running. Yes, we are 25 minutes into it, so yeah, I was talking about the leaves are really close to the stem, and okay, I'm going to tip a little bit more water and bring that green up in here, and then kind of feather it out. I forgot to paint that one. What color is that? Oh, that's a purple one. And just kind of keep going until your brush runs out of paint. You know, bring the yellow back down over the top of that. Just want to make this dark, and then this is, oh wow, there was a lot of paint on that brush. When you press hard, it's going to get darker for you. Kind of save a little bit of that highlight around those flowers. You know, so it's not, you know, you won't have to go back later and outline them with white or anything. Just kind of let some of that background color, and I'm just gonna bring this color. I'm gonna go up into my leaf, or come down into my leaf. I'm gonna grab some of that darker paint that I liked. So, great thing about this is that you can stop and rewind, and you can kind of see where we're going right now. I want to make sure that this is, check the light here and see if we can get it a little bit darker. If it is possible. Still working with all of this glare, getting ready to invest. So you can see we kind of got a stripe right in here, you know, that we want to get rid of. This will help when we get our blue one in, but I'm going to take some of that dark green paint, and I'm going to outline this leaf like this. I'm going to just press it, put it on the thing, turn it, and just kind of curve like that. Takes a little bit more water there, like that. And here's the stem from this guy. It's a little too watery. I think I need a little bit more paint. So I'm going to mix up some more of that Loden green, which is the blue and the yellow. Put it on a little bit thicker. This is where you want to kind of, you see how I'm going to turn my brush and just kind of go into here, and then there is another leaf right here. This leaf just kind of comes up there. There we go. That looks good. A little bit more yellow in there. Now, once you put that yellow in, boy, you really got some green there. I'll keep my greens to this. I'm going to go like that, and then just kind of turn and poke it off. Leave it alone. Don't fuss with it. Add a little bit of that pretty color on top of here too. And here's another one. Turn it, fling it off to the side. And you can add some of that color where you don't see it, because that was a new color. Okay, and I think that is pretty much all that I'm going to do on this area right in here. While I have this on my brush, I'm going to pick up some dark brown. I'm going to make that darker. Kind of dark hunter's green, and kind of start patting it here in the bottom. Go along the bottom. And you just kind of want to let your leaves, let your flowers, let your stems breathe. Get out of the habit, avoid the habit of going right up to those pencil lines and just making it really hard edged. We don't need to do that. This is, people are going to go, wow, who taught? How'd you do that? Okay, so leave some of your background color, just kind of pat it like that, and it's a little bit darker. You don't want to, you want this dark to look like it goes underneath that leaf, so I'm going to continue. I'm just kind of patting my way up. Sometimes you need to trim it up a little bit if it starts looking a little bit too chicken scratchy. You want to, but I've got a nice dark background right here. And I'm going to put my leaves on. I haven't decided what color yet. Probably something, I don't really want to get them darker because they don't, they're already, the background is so dark. So, but I will, I think I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. I'm going to use this half right here. And we'll put some, wherever you have the leaf right here, you want to put a little highlight on the top of the leaf. And so you can use a, you can do more of a chartreuse. And I'm going to take a little tiny bit of that green, little tiny bit of the yellow. You can put a more of a that's green, green. A little bit more yellow. I told you that green is really, really strong. There. And I think I'll probably do same thing over here. Let's just paint the whole thing. Got a lot of that green on. That green is very unforgiving, so I'm going to wait for that to dry. I'm going to get it off my brush, and that was just a little tiny poke of that phthalo, so always be really careful when you're using that color, because it is stubborn and it's hard to cover up. I'm going to take a little bit off with my sponge, and I'm just going to try and get more of a tan green out of there. Don't want brown. Okay. See how that looks. Not so good. I'm going to come back to that later. That definitely needs to be, oh, I see what I did. I see what I did. Okay. Hey, I'm going to put this one, I'm going to make that one come to life. There we go. And I am going to put it on a little bit thicker and go over these. I'm just going to kind of go, it's my idea of painting a flower. It's kind of going out from the center like that. We're going to go over this interior of these flowers with black and kind of bring some of the yellow in. It got a little bit darker right in here, and I want to finish those leaves. And you can kind of see if you look at a little sample that we gave you, there's a lot of little squiggly things here. So I just need, this one here is dry, so let me demonstrate on that. I'm just going to take kind of a medium regular old green that I like. Okay, just mix up a regular old green. It's got such gorgeous colors. I hate to cover it up though. Just an old green, but all that is changing. It's all going to change because it's going on top. Just kind of save some of those shadows. Almost looks like a little watercolor that we're doing here. We put it on really thin. So, good rule of thumb, and did I go over that, or did I take that off? Good rule of thumb is to go over the whole leaf with one color, and then go back in and add some veins, and add some interest, some texture. Maybe make one side of it lighter, one side of it darker. And here we got this color that I like. So we're just kind of, what shape is that? It is, okay. It kind of goes like that. This is going to show up, and I'm going to show you how it's going to show up. Because going to paint the background back up into that leaf. So I need to get a dark brown. You know, you can mix your dark brown with your dark purple. And I'm going to pull a little bit of blue into that dark brown and some green into that dark brown. And just kind of define this leaf. Look at that. Get a little bit more brown in there. Okay. See that? Tip, tap, tip, tap, tap. So just put a dark brown color underneath of that. And I don't think that needs to be. I'm just going to get rid of that shape. We don't need another leaf in there. And they do come right up to the flower with their little stems. Even further, but let's make that one dark. Right now it's just kind of a sludge gray, bluish gray. I picked up some blue. It's got purple in there. It's got turquoise. It's got some of the green. You want to be careful if you start painting your whole painting with your smaller brush. You're going to have little chop, 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 chop marks. And there's nothing like having a big, bold brush to wipe out some of that, all that unnecessary detail that I'm getting into right now. So I'm going to, I am going to take a turquoise. I'm going to mix up a turquoise. So I'm going to add a couple leaves in here and then outline some of my leaves with the turquoise. So that is the blue, pretty much the blue, and a little bit of green. So a little bit of green, a little bit of green, a little bit. Let's mix it over here and add a little bit of white to it. You want to make sure that it's not so bright that it really stands out too much. And if it is, we'll just add a little bit of, kill it with a little bit of brown. Maybe put a little bit more brown in there. Yeah. Okay. A little bit of water. And we can make a leaf out of that later. And there's another one. Kind of smoothing the outside and kind of jaggedy on the inside like that. And we'll just connect those. These are leaves are just kind of highlighted right now. Can get rid of some of that lime. Is a little bit too strong. One half of it with the lime. Okay. While you have your small brush, I'm just going to kind of a little more detail. I just some little lines in here, a couple of them. And a dark brown coming up against, I get really dark brown kind of outlining this leaf right here. And make it look a little jaggedy. Like I'm just kind of patting my brush, and people can see that it's a, you'll be able to see that it's a leaf. I'll just kind of outline it a little bit like that for you. And that's good enough. Good enough, good enough. I'm going to put a little bit of that kind of turquoise on some of these leaves up in here. There's another leaf that I mixed right here, that I missed, sorry. And we'll go back to our purple and start putting some more little detail in here. And this right in here is going to have the yellow coming back in there. So we don't have too much to do, but probably another good 15-20 minutes of painting. So I'm going to take a little bit more of that turquoise and just sort of, the lime wasn't too, that is really bringing, once I did that, that's really bringing these shapes together. So like that. And I got that turquoise with this, the blue, a little bit of the green, and you know, sometimes I pull in some of that yellow ochre, that gold. Just kind of smooth that out a little bit so it's not too choppy. And you can just put a little tiny bit of white like that in your brush and just kind of go down the center. Gives it a little tiny bit of detail here. Makes it spark. Oh, wow, okay. There's a leaf right here, and I've got this turquoise on my brush. Just gonna go ahead and leave it on there. And kind of go up here. I've got this, you know, where it's real light and then it's real dark right here. So I'm gonna go up into the light and come down into, that needs a little bit more lightness in here. Kind of come down in there, and I'm gonna pick up some dark green, some dark brown, and do the other side of the leaf. And then you can go back to the white and add a little line in there, maybe some lines. Maybe take the dark brown and make some lines in there. See that? Just kind of snap them in. Anything to add a little bit of interest, to make it look a little bit more, it's abstract, but you know what? There's ways to make it look a little more representable, representable, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna get the underside of this leaf really dark right there. All kind of comes together. So, time to put that background in, or you can work on your flowers. If you have a filbert brush, it's an oval shaped brush, and I didn't bring one over here with me to the studio, so I'm going to use this right here, and I'm going to show you how you can put some more detail into your purple flower. We'll start with the purple one here. And I just added some purple and white, and you can add another little, or you can go darker between these guys. And another. Doesn't have to be perfect, because you know I have the patience of a gnat right now. And I just kind of like to suggest things, get her done. I'm not somebody that's going to be real anatomical, that's for sure. And I just kind of keep patting away at it. As long as you just use purple and white and maybe the red violet, you're going to be fine. It's when you kind of start mixing all those other colors in there that you get in trouble. So I'm going to wash my brush and take some of that wonderful red violet and just add another little poke here and there. There's a nice big shape right there. Pat, 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 pat. I'll come back with dark and put that, put the black center in. And this one up here, I think I'm going to go with a darker purple. This one over here, put some detail on that too. Okay, I'm going to clean my brush and get some black paint and put those centers in. I should have a little cup right here, and you're going to see it. Oh no, that's brown, dark brown. I will get the black out. It's right, yeah, here we go. So I'm just gonna, you can choose to leave a little bit of that purple show through. It sure looks pretty nice. Maybe one side. Right here is a big one. And this one here just kind of comes up off the bottom. and this one comes in from the side. So while you have that, be real careful, folks. This is another one of those unforgiving colors that is just used for a little outlining. You want to outline, maybe make one side of your stems darker. That'll show that the light's coming from over there. This is the underside right there. A little bit of water, and it can be fun. Okay, I need to put some more detail in here. I need to bring my white down in there, and I believe there's another leaf I think I may have missed. Actually, no, I didn't. I'm just going to bring a little bit more white down in there, and this keeps wanting to run away, so stay. So I'm going to clean up my palette, and I'm going to clean up my brushes because we're going to mix up a light buff, buttery, greenish yellow, and we don't want it going into the purple. If you have your little tubs of paint, just dip them into some clean water, dump it off, leave a couple drops in there. They'll keep for weeks, and you can go back to it the next day and take a break, rewind, pause. But I'm going to try and clean up an area here on my palette without having to take another sheet. And this is already dry, so just want to make sure that it doesn't, that's enough to mix my area right in there. So I love these palettes because they have a waxy finish to them, and they are they're expensive, or like 15 cents a sheet, but boy, they're handy, and you can mix. I get the 9x12. So I'm going to take a little bit of white. It's already, my brush is pretty dirty. I didn't wash it very well. I'm gonna pull in some yellow. Not yellow, but kind of that color we were talking about, and a lot more white. I want this to get buffy. And we'll see where we are. We're kind of, yeah, that's it. That's how I want. I'm just going to kind of dance my brush. And just a little bit, needs a little bit warmer color. And at this point, you just kind of want to tap. And without rubbing too much, just kind of tap and keep. Bring some of that yellow down into here. This is fine. Maybe a little couple sun breaks coming down into around this flower. But hey, I think it does kind of go down into this one a little bit more. Liking this. And I will see how I like that, and just go ahead and if you have any areas that, you know, sometimes you get too much pat, tap, tap, tap. Sometimes you get too carried away and it gets a little bit redundant, obnoxious, monotonous. And then you can just go ahead and do some nice, light, clean brush strokes to have some smooth areas, but I like the texture. And that here is, that when it dries, that could use a nice little spokes of color. I mean, not spokes of color, but just kind of make it simpler. So I am going to stop on that. I am completely finished, except for we're going to do this painting, or we're going to do this flower right here, and add a little bit of white to our orange. I'm going to have you do some orange and white. And I'm a flat brush painter, so anytime that you think that you're going to have better control, or that you want to keep working, you know, and do your little flowers with this, by all means, use whatever brush you're used to, or that works for you. I'm going to clean off this and take some orange and some white. I'm going to make a little bit lighter petals right here. So take a little bit of orange and white so that you have kind of like a medium sherbet or something. And I'm just going to add some little ones in here. Now what's really going to make this painting pop is all the little pollen and colors that are going to kind of float down in front of it. And that's enough for now. I'm just going to keep adding a little bit darker orange to my mix and just kind of make another little pat. Can barely see it on the camera. I can barely see it here, but I'm going to go around the outside. And maybe it needs to be a little darker. You know, if you want a little more yellow in there. It's another color. I'm going to go for a little bit browner. I love this kind of stained color that was on here with the purple. Let's see, put a little purple on there. You can just do whatever you want. That's what makes it kind of fun. So one of the things that is kind of unique about this painting in my style is if you have a little flat 1/8 inch brush like this, your worries are going to be over. I'm going to outline this and put some of that purple back up into here, but I'm just going to kind of follow that outline, and I can still see it. And I just kind of turn and go back and turn and go back and turn and maybe make another little layer in here. You don't want to totally overdo it, so I'm just going to kind of go around the outside a little bit, and you want to know, kind of know, like there was one that picked up some white, so it became a white outline, and that's totally cool. That looks good too. When to stop? I think that's the great artist question that they are. You know, when you got a big mess, I think. You know, I haven't got that yet, but it's getting close. So I'm going to, it's kind of a fun thing. Can put a little more detail in there, make this flower stand out a little bit more. I do want to get to a little bit of pollen, and I'm going to take some of that red violet. Yes, I am. And looks like a bunch spilled here on the table. And when this dries, I would suggest waiting for it to dry, and then you can just lay those purples right over the top on some of this. It really makes this painting pretty cool. Yes, it does. And zinnias have such, you know, tight little caps. Well, they do. Some of these are like single petal. They have single petal ones. You can do the same thing down in here. If you got your black paint, you can put some, it's so dark, such a dark flower that's not going to show up too much. So I'm going to show you what it looks like with a little black paint in here. And you can just kind of go like that, have some fun. Boom, 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 boom. A little bit of black around the edge. Right. On our picture, it has some little yellow dots. I'm not sure if they are indicative of zinnias. Probably not, but they do look pretty cool when you put the yellow against the purple. And some flowers are like that. I'm not sure if zinnias are, but ours is. And a little bit ding, ding, ding around in here. So I'm going to get some pollen going, and that's just kind of a buff color. Don't want to, you can have them, anything that's going to show up, and they come in front of your flowers. They're not just, this is really kind of what makes it all come together. If you have a really strong line, just put a little pollen on the edges of it, halfway in, halfway out, like right in here. We want to kind of bring this down, kind of. So that's all I have. Going to, this is just some very thin white wash, which I usually do with a bigger brush. So I'm getting these little 1/8 inch things right here. I'll go ahead and make them like the petals that we were doing. And back to my pollen. So hey, thank you everybody. I'm going to keep painting this until, because I know I'm going to think of something else. Put a couple of little snowflakes. No, not snowflakes. We wish. We just don't have snow out here. They come into that, but we've got pollen. We're famous for that. We lay claim to having the, you know, the pollen factor in this town. So I think this is going to be my favorite one so far, and I'm looking. I haven't missed anything. There's basically only 2 stems. There is another stem on this painting. I'll just kind of mix up a little limey green if you want to. There we go. And I'll just kind of put a little brown with that and make a stem on here. It's not necessary. I think it's painting's kind of holding it up on its own, and there's not very much space in there, but that's it. That's it. Thank you so much. And this is our zinnia painting, and let me know how you like it and send me a picture. I'm Pauline with Vino and Van Gogh in downtown Springfield, Oregon. Thank you. Bye-bye.